Hello, this is a training video from Pacesetter Claims regarding basic and general navigation within your dashboard in Xactimate. So I'm logged in here to my Xactimate dashboard. Typically, you're going to log into your local project list. We'll get to this shortly in this left navigation bar area. We're going to go through some of this. But just keep in mind that normally you log into your local project list. Here's my local project list. These are going to be assignments or claims that have been assigned to you by the carrier you work for that you maybe download through Exact Analysis. It may be projects that you create through the new project button up here, where maybe it's a test claim or a practice claim that you have in here. It could be, for instance, estimating trees from the carrier that are required that you use when you estimate their claims. For instance, we'll see these Affix Homesite tree, Affix Commercial tree, Affix HO Classic tree. These are examples of estimating trees that are required to be used by Affix. So we will go over that in another video. There is a video that's up already regarding how to data transfer these into your local project list, or really data transfer anything into Xactimate. But we're going to have another video specifically on how to get these trees into your claim when you open the claim that you're writing. So before we get over to the navigation bar, let's look up to the top right here. There's some icons I'd like to go over here briefly. And starting on the left, we have a little folder with the trash can icon. If you click on this, what this is, this allows you to search for deleted projects. And as you notice here with this button, restore that project. Bring it out of deletion back into your local project list. Doesn't happen often, but just keep in mind that if something happens, if you accidentally delete one, or you need to pull something back in to fix something, and it's back in progress for some reason, you can always try to go through your deleted projects here and restore those. The next icon is a little downward chevron. If we click on this, basically this is just a filter that allows you to search for claims by different filters. It may be by a date range. You want to search just estimates. You want to search just estimates that are in progress. You can also set up new filters. So this is just a way for you to filter and show different types of filters of the way it pulls up claims in your local project list, so how you want to see that in your local project list. Obviously, the magnifying glass is for you to search for projects. If you have a claim number or an insured's name, you can search directly through this area. This little icon with the bust of a person here, if we click on this, this is basically your information. It gives your ID for Xactware, your phone number, your Xactnet address. You may need this, for instance, if you're working for a carrier who requires your Xactnet address, which they will to assign claims. You can also go manage your account through here and log out of Xactimate here as well. This little bell icon is your notification area icon. This is very important. If you have a little red circle by it, it lets you know that you have some new notifications here that you haven't dealt with yet. Notifications are various of various types. This, for instance, I have an update to Xactimate. I have an assignment update, another assignment update. This is a collaboration that someone has collaborated to file. It could be various things. You're going to get claims through this. If the IA firm assigns you claims, you're going to get them through this notification area. They'll be listed here with the insured's name with a download button, and you can download those directly into your local project list so that you can start processing them. So just keep in mind that you will need to check this regularly each day to see if you have any updates to files, if you have any claim assignments that have been given to you, and maybe if you just need to update your Xactimate. So be very aware of this button in here. It's a very commonly used button. And the last to the right, we see the sync icon. I'm not going to select this, but basically if you click this, this little circle is going to turn. It's going to connect to your instance and Exact Analysis and download any notifications that may be pending for you and upload anything into your cloud instance. So it's just a connection process. Sometimes you need to resync everything to get everything up to date. Okay, so let's move from the upper right to the far left in this blue navigation bar. As we said earlier, we're in the local project list where you're going to be doing most of your work. But let's go to the cloud list. You'll see my projects, all projects. What the cloud is a web-based instance where when you complete a claim and you're using Xactanalysis to upload the claim is going to disappear from the local project list. Once you set it to completed status and close it, save and exit, it's going to go up to your instance in the cloud, disappear out of your local project list, and it will appear in your cloud project list. So if I go to my projects, we'll see a bunch of assignments here that have been uploaded. Keep in mind that you can download any of the projects that may need to be downloaded for various reasons, we'll talk about that shortly, back into your local project list. And to do that, you would just select a project or projects. When you do that, this menu bar will open to the right, and you can select this little cloud icon with a downward arrow. This will download that claim or whatever claims you have selected in the group. It'll download those back into your local project list. One of the reasons you may want to do that is it's very common. Let's say you close the file, send it up, and file review has some corrections they want you to make. So you would need to go to your cloud, My Projects, find that project, select it, and then select the little cloud with the down arrow to download that back into your local project list in order for you to open it, make the corrections, reset the claim to close status, and upload it back to Xactanalysis for the file reviewer. So just keep in mind you can move back and forth between your local and cloud project lists, okay? Preferences is very important. Preferences does different things, but it's basically general global settings within Xactimate. If we click on the Preferences General tab, we're not going to go through all of the various edits and global settings, but we will talk about a few that are pretty important. In the general area, one thing I would suggest is in the autosave area. I believe the default is auto-saving every 5 minutes. I would suggest using this down arrow, changing this to auto-saving every 1 minute. That will save you a little bit of headache in case you're working and your Xactimate crashes or locks up on you. In that case, you'll only lose 1 minute of work. You can just start where you were 1 minute ago. Not much in here in this area. This will be generally defaulted to these settings. Again, you can look at these and set these how you like to help your workflow. Next, let's go to Project. In Project, one thing we're going to look at that is very important is this upper left setting in your profile. This is where you can drop down and select what profile that you want to use and what settings you want to set in that profile. This is very important because different carriers spend a lot of money and time with Xactware to set up specific profiles for their company. We're not going to go too much into how profiles work. Just keep in mind that there are certain ways profiles are set up in the background that function within the Xactimate environment. For instance, if you're working Apex claims with us, you're generally going to want to always use the American Family profile. Yes, you may see and you will download a home site insurance, but American Family will work generally for all of the carriers that we use. But you do want to be in that profile when you're working Apex claims. If you're working another carrier or another IA firm or with Pacesetter, and let's say you're working for Liberty Mutual or NatGen, you would want to change on those claims and make sure you're set in that profile. You can change back and forth readily in, again, Preferences, Project. So we'll leave this at American Family. Again, these are global settings. As an example, let's say you work for a carrier where the claim rep is always the same, so that you don't have to go and put the claim rep in repeatedly on every claim you do for that carrier. You can go into Preferences, Project, make sure you're in that correct profile for the carrier, and you can put the claim rep in here. And that means this will be a global setting that will show up every time in the claim when you open it up for that carrier. Again, there's company headers, closing statements. If it varies, every time you open a claim. For instance, with Affix, the claim rep varies each claim because it's the desk adjuster is the claim rep. You wouldn't want to put anything here because you're going to have to manually change that each time anyway. But just keep in mind that, again, these are global settings that will show up the same every time you open a claim in a profile. One thing I would suggest down here at the bottom, resequence line numbers, regardless of the carrier profile. I would recommend setting both of these to checked. What this means is that each time you set the claim to completed status or you go to print in the claim, the print screen, you don't have to print, just go into the print screen. It should prompt you to resequence your line items, which is a great idea to put all of your estimating line items in the correct sequential order. Moving on, let's go down to pricing. We're not going to really talk about too much. We don't really do a whole lot in here. You can set recoverable types. Again, these are all defaults that we set the same. This can vary at times. You will need to get with your managers to see if there's any specific global settings in the pricing area that you may want to set. Right now, we're going to leave this blank, but just keep in mind, as in the other tabs here, these are global settings regarding pricing using the payment tracker, overhead and profit, and whatnot. Sketch, preferences in Sketch. Again, this is where you can set global settings of how Sketch is seen and used when you open up a claim. We have 3 tabs here up at the top. The default is the View Edit tab. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of time here. Get with your manager to see if there's any specific settings. With Affix, we typically don't, not in the view area. There are in the calculations. We'll talk about that briefly in a second here. But as an example, if you like to use the grid every time you open a claim and use Sketch, and you want the grid to show automatically every time you open it, then you would check this box. Again, this has a lot to do with how you like to work in Xactimate and what your workflow is. Placement, same type of thing. This is dealing with global settings on how room defaults show up, what wall thicknesses are, what the default ceiling height is when you sketch a room in Xactimate. If we go to calculations, very similar. If you're using reference blocks, how you want those to behave by default, how you want carpet and flooring to behave by default. This is something that I mentioned just briefly a second ago, automatic calculations. This is something that Affix does use. This deals with the auto waste calculator. I'm not going to go over this too much right now. You can get with your claim supervisor or management with questions or look at the provided documentation, but generally this should be set in the background automatically with the profile. Once you get the profile and installed for American Family, which is Affix, these settings should already be set for you because it's embedded in the profile. But just keep in mind, you can change these and edit these, and they deal with how the automatic calculations work for the auto waste calculator and how it works with Sketch. Lastly, let's go to the tools area. This is an important area that we use occasionally. One is you'll go to tools and the top data transfer area when you're data transferring in or out of Xactimate. There's another training video up that you can look at that's very important that you'll need to look at on how to data transfer with Xactimate. Highly recommend that you go look at that one. We're not going to do that now, but just know that in tools, data transferring is where you will do that. This would be where you would say import Xactimate trees required by the carrier. You would import opening statements, closing statements, company headers, macros. So it's very important that you become familiar with how to data transfer in Xactimate because it's a very commonly used and basic function. There's only one other thing we're going to talk about here in the tools area. It's not showing here, but when you come on with a carrier that uses, or an IA firm that uses XactAnalysis, they're going to have the profiles for the carriers they use. If those carriers have profiles, they'll have those set up in the background, and they'll assign those profiles to you. And if any profiles are assigned to you to be installed, they will show up here in one of these blocks. And it'll be listing all of the different carrier names with a little empty checkbox. You can check those boxes and then install all of those carrier profiles. Once they're installed, you won't see that block anymore. As you can see here, there is no block that has anything to do with carrier profiles because I have all of the currently assigned profiles already installed. But this is where you would look to install those. And then to see what you have installed as far as profiles, remember, we would go back to Preferences, Project, and then in the top left of the main screen, this Profile Settings has a little drop-down menu, and this is where we can look to see what profiles that we currently have installed, and we can change back and forth intermittently between these profiles and load them up. So that's kind of the basic and general navigation of Xactanalysis, or rather Xactimate. So if you have any questions, certainly contact your manager or QA trainer. They'll be happy to help you on this. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you on the next video.